Year 7, today we are moving on to our next section, looking from fractions to decimals, now percentages. Now percentages, as we've already discussed, is something we use a lot in society. All right? We use it for measuring really how much is left or what is there, how much space might be taken. A percentage is actually a fraction whose denominator is always 100. It measures how much per 100. So I've got a bit of suggestions here for you, which you have hopefully already copied down. To convert a percentage to a fraction, write with a denominator of 100 and simplify. So that's from percentage to fraction. To convert a percentage to a decimal, divide by 100. All right? To convert a fraction or decimal to a percentage, multiply by 100%, and I'll have to show you a bit of working for that. It's often easier on a calculator, but we're going to do it manually for the moment. So I've got some examples. Let's get in. There's quite a few of them. So we're going to begin. This first example here says, convert to a fraction in simplest form. So we're given it as a percentage, and we need to convert to a fraction. We need to remember what we did before. So question one, or what we saw. Question 1, 3%, all right, is 3 parts per 100. We want to go to a fraction. So if it's 3 parts per 100, it's 3 out of 100. Pretty straightforward, okay? Question 2 is 45%. Again, it's 45 parts out of 100, although the question asks us for it in its simplest form. That's not its simplest form. In fact, we did an example like this just a few minutes ago, and we know that in its simplest form, it's 9 over 20, because you divide top and bottom by 5. Question 3, 5.5%. Now, I don't like doing this, but this is probably the easiest way to do it. What we've said is, write it with a denominator of 100. Well, it's going to be 5.5 over 100. But as I said, I don't like writing it that way because it's not nice having a fraction on top of a fraction. So we need to get rid of this fraction part. But if what we do is we multiply top and bottom, remember, what if we do to the numerator, we must do to the denominator. If we multiply them both by 2, you'll get 11 over 200. That's that percentage in its simplest form as a fraction. All right. When it comes to converting from to a fraction, just divide by, put it over 100 and simplify. What about question 4 here? Convert to a decimal. Well, 39%. What we have to do is we divide by 100. Again, we're doing the same sort of thing, but this time, because it's written like that and we're going for a decimal, it becomes 0.39. What about 2%? A little bit slightly different, because it's 2% divided by 100. Well, I need to move my decimal point 2 places to the left, which means I need to put a 0 in, and so my answer is 0.02. Last example there, squashing it all into this side of the board, and I've got another page coming, so I'll fit those there. This time it's 16.9%. Now, we divide by 100. So yet again, we move our decimal point 2 places to the left. So our answer, and we still keep the last number, is 0.169. So there is converting to a fraction. There is converting to a decimal. That's the easiest part, I think. Because the next part, thank you, is a little bit more tricky. Oh boy. Because now we want to convert to a percentage. I'll rub out these top 2 so you can see what I do. Question 7 up here, 3/4. what we said to do is you multiply by 100%. Now 100% is like multiplying by 100 over 1. So hopefully now you can see you've got a multiplication question with a fraction. Now, when I'm multiplying like this, you should remember that I can simplify a bit first. Because if I'm going to multiply by 100 but then divide by 4, let's do it easy. 4 goes into 4 once, into 100 25 times. So what I actually need to do is 3 times 25, all right, which is equal to 75%. That hopefully makes that question that little bit easier. What about question 8? Ooh, 1/8. Let's do the same thing again, times 100%. So we've got 1/8 times 100%. Now, like this one, I can see I'll need to find out what number goes into both. Into 8, 4 will definitely go. And we know that 4 goes into 100 25 times. So what we actually have now is 1 times 25 on the top divided by 4 times 1 on the bottom. All right. Is that right?
25 over 4.
Oh, it goes in twice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Clark making mistakes again. Okay, now, so what I've actually got, if I simplify that, I've got 25 over 2. It's not going to be a whole number at this point. 25 divided by 2 actually leads us away from an integer towards a decimal. And you've got 12.5%. Okay? Because 25 divided by 2 is 12.5 or 12.5. All right, let's keep going. Next one. Here we go. Question 9. 34 over 40. Again, multiplied by 100%. Okay? Now, I'm looking and I'm starting to think, how can I simplify? I probably could have simplified the 34 over 40, but let's leave that for now. I know though, 4 goes into 40 10 times and into 100 25 times. So now I've got 34 times 25 over 10. But what I also know, actually I could have done it before, is that 10 and 34 have a common thing because they can both be divided by 2. So I can actually simplify this a bit more. 17 times 25 over 5. Rubbing out those bottom ones. All right. But if it's 25 over 10, 25 over 5 now, sorry, I can simplify that further and it's times 5. So I've actually got 17 times 5. Now, we may or may not know what 17 times 5 is. And so we might have to go over here and do a bit of working to work out what it is. 5 7s, 35, carry the 3, 5 1s are 5, plus 3 is 8. And we can actually work out it's 85%. All right? So you have to do a bit more working when going from a fraction to a percentage. But it's that simple process multiplied by 100%. For this last one, convert these to a percentage. When it's a decimal, it's super easy. Just divide by 100. All right? So we move our decimal point 2 places to the right, and we've got 23%. For this one, move again 2 places to the right, and I get 14, and don't lose the 0.7%. For this one, I need to add a 0 because I'm going to divide by 100. So I'm going to move 2 places to the right, And again, I just write my answer as 60%. So those last ones, decimal to a percentage, that's probably the easiest. Question?
Isn't times like to the right, but the right way?
Sorry, you're right. Let's try and get that right. I'm having a great day, aren't I? It is times. I know what I'm doing in my head, just not writing the right stuff down. Thank you for pointing that out. So we multiply by 100 again. It's actually, technically, 100%, isn't it? Because we're not changing the value of it, but we're multiplying by 100% to get it as a percentage. So that's how you do those. Year 7, we've done a lot of examples today. And you need to practice them. So we're going to get in and do a whole lot of practice now.